they're not coming there to see Kelly Finn visuals, right? Or Sean Bowes visuals. They're going there for the experience of the club and the experience of the artist. And I think that everyone who gets to a certain point understands that, oh, like that's part of what being a VJ is that like, and you can put your own flair and your own touch on things, but that's when VJing gets really interesting.
I'm Sean Bowes, concert visual designer in Los Angeles, California. And today we're talking to Kelly Finn. Kelly is a VJ, virtual production specialist, disguise op, 3D generalist, an all-around creative problem solver based in Las Vegas. She's left her mark on events and productions that range from Detroit Techno festivals to Hakkasan Nightclub, XR productions, U2UV at the MSG Sphere, and so many others along the way. You can find her work at kellyfinn.com. At Art of Kelly Finn on Instagram, and I'm just very excited to talk to her today. Kelly, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Sean. Really excited about this.
Hell yeah. So your career has taken you to some amazing places so far, but I find it really interesting how people got started into this industry because it's a little bit odd. There's not really a roadmap. There's not a degree for this shit. So how did you get started? Tell us the story of what inspired you to get into this and what your life was like at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started getting into electronic music around like right when I was graduating high school, getting into college. And, it was a little bit of a bumpy road for me when I got started in college. I was going in for something super academic, and I just never really had that feeling of like satisfaction and happiness. Like I loved what I was learning, but I didn't feel really happy. And so like, that's what I think like the electronic music community was really becoming for me, is just that place of like feeling accepted and finding myself and so on, like at a really young age. And as the time went on, I actually moved out to Denver, Colorado, because I was like, hey, I need to figure out what the heck it is that I really want to do with my life. And I was just going to a lot of festivals and going and following DJs around and, really just like enjoying life. And I had some really great experiences, and I realized, oh, I'm an artist. I want to be an artist. And then the question was, well, what kind of art do you want to do? And because, you got to pick something in art school. And so I didn't even know. I'm like, I love painting. I'm thinking I want to be a painter. I do like Photoshop. And then I was at a really amazing stadium show, EDM stadium show. And then the visuals were just like so amazing. And it was just like an epiphany moment. And I was just looking at them and I realized, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. So I ended up continuing at the University of Michigan, go Blue, changing my major to art and kind of like moving forward from there. I gotta say, like, still like YouTube University too. It'll never do you wrong. I think we all get our degree from YouTube University if we want to be on this career path, right?
Hell yeah.
So I started doing that. I was in a class where we had to like have a self-directed project. So that was like kind of one of my big pushes to put enough together to be able to like VJ in front of an audience. So that's what I did, and just watching tutorials on YouTube. I did that class. That was cool. And started just getting connected to like people in my local Michigan community, people who were putting on bass music shows and other types of EDM shows. And I was like, hey, like, I would love to VJ. And I did it like once or twice, and it just felt natural, like it was like, I remember saying like a fish into water. Like it was so natural to me, and I loved the energy and like what I was doing and like following the music and like creating with the music. So I knew I was on the right path. I love that you mentioned Detroit Techno, because there's a festival in Detroit, Michigan, every Memorial Day called Movement. And I connected with someone on the internet, I don't know, a VJ group, who was also from Detroit. He said, hey, like I run Movement every year, come and hang out. And then so I got to go and hang out and like be on a bigger stage. And like, that was it for me. I just got started from there, and that's, it's kind of it. Here we are.
That's the origin story. Amazing. I want to dig into a couple things in there and really get into like, how did you make those first connections and get your first gig ever? You mentioned the VJ group and you're like meeting some people at shows and stuff. How did that happen?
The first person I ever met who did visuals, and I knew did visuals, was at one of the local venues in Detroit. And I literally like just went up and said hi to them. And I was just like, hey, like I'm really interested in being a VJ and talking about visuals. And so his name was Ron Belisle. And that was really great to just talk to anyone, right? Like, and then I also had a really wonderful friend named Mike McCulloch who goes by Mad Mike Visuals. And he was the known VJ in like the Metro Detroit like EDM community, right? Of like was starting to get connected to those people who were like making small collectives, putting on shows, bringing bigger artists in. Because you can go to all those shows, right? And I messaged Mike in the same way and said, hi, like I'm very interested in this. Like I would love to ask you questions. I would love to find out more about how you do it. And then I went out to like the first ever show where I touched a MIDI controller. And that was like, yeah, this is it. This shit hits right here. I get it. So yeah, I think it's really, if anyone wants to get started and they're practicing VJing or they're starting to make content and they're not really sure, like, you know, you already have that community around you. I hope like that's what the music really does for us, right? It brings a community of people together. So you probably already know a lot of people who are involved in other ways. Yeah. And then also like I was more involved in VJ Union at the time, like as a beginner, like asking like little questions. And so I got connected to another local person in Detroit that way.
Yeah. Shout out VJ Union Facebook group.
We've all been roasted on VJ Union. We've all gotten a lot of help, but we've all been roasted on VJ.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage to really ask a noob question on VJ Union and just get obliterated. But also helped at the same time.
It did.
Just use the search function. It sucks, but try it once. Along those lines, like think back to that time. What challenges did you face at the very beginning? Do you have like a noob Kelly Finn story?
I definitely should have just like bought the projector and the screen. But I didn't really think about doing that. And I just kept renting one over and over again. And at like the time, like really new Kelly Finn was like making like 200, 250 on a gig. And like I would spend almost all of that money to rent the projector and the screen to like get the gig because I had to provide all of that. And I was like, oh, I don't have one of those. So it's okay. Like exposure dollars when you're like 20, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
you're like, yeah, drink tickets, and you know, in hindsight, I probably should have just like bought a projector on eBay or something.
Yeah, but you know, you got to go to a show and break even almost.
Really, like, I did. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, great. I love that. That's the way it goes at the beginning. You got to figure out the business side as you go and start getting better rates and the gear is provided by the production company and things like that. But when we're starting out, we do it all. That's amazing.
We really do.
I love that. All right. Enough noob Kelly stories. We're going to fast forward a little bit. What was the driving force behind moving to Las Vegas? Can you tell me about that time in your life?
Sure. For the rest of my college life and the year up until COVID afterward, I was working with a really awesome VJ named Gabriel Hall. He does like Barclay Crenshaw, Claude Von Stroke's visuals and like really makes all of Dirty Bird like amazing. And so that was my first mentor figure that I had, which was a really powerful for learning and getting more experience. Obviously then like the pandemic happened and for all of us, it was like, whoa, like, what are we going to do? What are we doing? And it was, at the same time, like I definitely tried to make the best of it. We were all involved in the streams, I think in some way that really gave me really great chances to VJ a lot more. And started making music videos for a couple artists, namely Ill Gates. Shout out to Ill Gates. And as the summer went on during that time, I was contacted by a mentor who had really helped me learn a lot about like more advanced Rezz stuff. And they said, hey, we're pivoting our company into virtual production because and that's what a lot of people actually did during the pandemic, is saying like, hey, like we have these 3D animation skills and we know a lot about LED and maybe a lot of us know about cameras. So it was really easy for a lot of us in this kind of world to pivot into film and doing like the Mandalorian style of film. And so I got offered an internship and I moved out to Las Vegas. And for me, it's just like, I'm so grateful for that opportunity, because like I wanted to go bigger, right? I wanted to go bigger. I wanted to move to a bigger city. I wanted to just see more, and it's been working out.
Yeah. I actually did a very similar thing, XR, during the old pandy, because yeah, we had the gear. We were all learning Unreal for some reason,
Yeah.
and they're like, it just makes sense. Was there anything that experience that you learned that you've taken away from that into like now that live shows are back, or is there any skills you developed during that time?
Well, totally. First of all, Unreal. I think Unreal is something really important. If anyone wants to get into content generation, they should probably be thinking about Unreal Engine in some way. I mean, I took a lot away from that experience. Like I added a lot to my skill sets. It's actually like a big part of the services that I offer now is being able to do virtual production, or XR, extended reality. So yeah, I think it really helped me to get a lot more hands-on video experience. Other things did as well, but a lot more hands-on video experience in the way of like, hey, we need to figure out what's going on here. So troubleshooting and video experience of like, hey, we might need this cable, or hey, like the LED wall might be doing this, that's affecting the camera. So I feel like I got a lot of confidence out of it. It was really hard and it was a really steep hill to climb. But in the end, I feel like I got a lot of confidence out of it and a lot of multi-dimensional experience out of it. And that virtual production and also like being a VJ or being a video tech, being LED, it's such a multifaceted career. You have to know so many things about so many things. So I'm really grateful that I was able to really expand my skill sets in that way. And it's like, oh, hey, now I can do several different things. And I know many different things about many areas. And I feel, and like it just compounds, right?
Yeah, that environment especially is like so interwoven, like this weird melding of film, live events, and something
Theater.
else.
It's like
the
theater too.
future,
Like
theater. Yeah.
yeah, you
So,
kind of start bringing like I did theater in high school, and I know, and it's like actually interesting. The more people I meet in this industry, the more people I've met that have also done theater, musical theater in some way. And so, yeah, you're kind of combining theater back in there because you have like a set and like the communication is very similar. And if you get into more like theatrical productions, like some of these big residencies in Las Vegas, for instance, like those are theater shows, right? So it's cool how we're like, as the technology is advancing and we're all learning more, it's kind of all like meshing together again. And they're all interrelated with each other.
yeah.
Very nerdy.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Well, you mentioned clubs in Vegas. You had a residency at a pretty epic club in Vegas. What is that experience like? How did that happen? Take us to the club. What happened
Oh my
there?
gosh. So I'd love to. When I arrived to Las Vegas and I was an apprentice at a company called Extended Reality Group, we were connecting with people in the local Las Vegas industry, and we decided it made sense for me to start working at the nightclubs and the day clubs on the Strip. They're always looking for VJs, and I didn't start at Hakkasan Nightclub. I started at Wet Republic Pool at the MGM Grands. That's what it was like, and you just work your way up from there. And I was really excited about that experience. Like I took away so much from all those experiences, like whatever venue it was on the Strip. The very important skill of the consistency of your show, because at a big venue like that, and anyone who runs a venue, like they understand this as well. They're not coming there to see Kelly Finn visuals, right? Or Sean Bowes visuals. They're going there for the experience of the club and the experience of the artist. So it really helped me raise my own bar and get used to running a venue and like running a show every night and working with a team and like working with an LD very consistently.
I have a couple of questions. One, you
Yes.
sort of mentioned like that there might be a little bit of like a hierarchy to these venues, like a ladder that you have to climb through. Is that a real thing out there? Is that like a Vegas culture thing?
Yeah, I would say so for sure. They definitely will start people on day shifts,
Mm.
right? And people progress from there. I also helped at the Resorts World pool club called IU. And like that was a really cool experience as well. The Resorts World property opened right when I moved to Vegas. And so it was a really, really sensational, like big deal. It was like one of the first new casinos in Vegas in a long time. And so I got to like work with some bigger artists there as well. Like I got to do visuals for Tiesto, DJ Snake, visuals for bigger and bigger artists. And again, keeping that caliber and standard of the show really consistent is something that I'm really grateful that I got to do, and just getting to VJ a lot, right? Like who doesn't love that?
Yeah, for sure. That's what I love about being house VJ at a festival is you just get so many reps in like one weekend. You do doing 10 sets a day for
Oh my
like
gosh, yeah.
is wild. I think having like a weekly or nightly gig like that is another great way to do that. Get a lot of reps in.
We were
Eh,
lifting hard there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm curious if you have any like pro tips for that kind of role, like the house VJ or like a club VJ. You mentioned consistency and like, maybe putting your own art aside in favor of like the brand, or like, you're supporting a huge artist that has their own brand. Like, are there any other tips or things you would say about them?
Yeah, I think I can expand on that a little bit more because I think
Yeah.
that you don't necessarily need to work in a club to learn that. And I think
Mm.
that everyone who gets to a certain point understands that, oh, like that's part of what being a VJ is that like you want to be able to make the artist look like the artist and feel like the artist, right? And you can put your own flair and your own touch on things, but that's when VJing gets really interesting because you're like, okay, like I'm only using somebody else's content, but I'm working with the LD and I'm working with the laser operator and I'm working with the production team. I might be on comm and I might be listening on cues, like we might have moments to hit. So it really helps you to get further down the path of understanding like I'm part of this experience. I'm part of the whole composition of the show. I think that's really important to remember. Oh, another thing too. Oh, this is a good one. Here's a good tip. Anyone who works in an indoor venue, especially, but on any show, like the screen, don't forget that the screen is the brightest and biggest light in the room. So it's really important to, again, with that like balance of the composition, to just keep it balanced and not go balls to the wall the whole time, not white strobe the whole thing, because the screen is really bright and then the lights can't do their part or the scenic can't do its part and the crowd can get like really washed out. So it's okay to black out. It's actually really appreciated if you do. And like, you don't have to be at 100% brightness. Like, it's better, honestly, if you to pull back a little bit and make the screen a little bit brighter if you need to. Because again, like the screen is the brightest light in the room.
Mm. Yeah, love that. Dynamics. You
Yeah.
need to give yourself some place to go and
Yeah, you
not
need breathing room, right?
not blind everybody. I had to learn that early on. That like if I was squinting my eyes at my own show, it might be too bright. Like
Wow, yeah.
wearing shades at my own show.
How
Like
would you know?
chill,
Fine.
dude. Everybody needs to hear that.
It is.
Black the fuck out.
Yeah, you should.
I feel like everybody should take notes on names that we're mentioning in this episode because there's a lot of good ones so far. You also had some awesome mentors, coworkers, people that you got to meet coming through the club scene in Vegas. Do you have any memorable people or shout outs you want to give during this segment?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say, first of all, my friend Maria Malakina, who is the head video person and VJ at Zook Nightclub at Resorts World. She's Cheesy Loaf on Instagram, but she is amazing. And she was one of the first women I actually got to meet in the industry. she's a really great friend and she's extremely talented. Helped design like the whole architecture in Zouk Nightclub, which is one of my favorite places. And just shout out to her, man. Like she's killing it and she's so talented and so smart and really inspirational. Who else? And shout out to my Hakkasan crew, like Dennis and Jared and Alex. Like it's been so fun to like work with the crew, you know, and like it's always really great when you have a really good team that you work with, whether you're touring or whether you're in a venue, or even if it's just like you meet an LD on a show and you guys just really vibe. Like it's really great to like have the support and like cohesion that a team brings.
Let's skip ahead a little bit. Is there a moment throughout your career that you were just like really proud of or felt like you made it or like this is why I'm doing this?
This summer, I got to do this awesome run of getting to be one of the VJs on stage one at Rolling Loud Germany with Emmett. And that was an incredible experience all around. You know, a really great coming together of like, wow, I've really worked hard. I've learned all these things. I understand all these concepts and like just getting to be one of the house people at a huge festival like that. Run a really great show, and like rap and hip hop is really different than EDM, so like that was a great experience. It was very interesting. And then I went to Paris and I got to sub for Cam McNeil and do a Rezz show, and that was just, you know, it was a gift. I'm really grateful for that experience. Like Isabel is amazing, the team is amazing, and you know, it just one of those experiences like you just stand there and you're like, wow, like the girl from Detroit 5 years ago was thinking about being here and like had a picture of this goal on my wall in my art studio, like my senior year of college, and like had gotten the gift of doing a show. It was really special. Also like girl power, like that was pretty cool.
Hell yeah. Girl
and
power.
Like, yeah. And that was just a really special experience because like when you have that personal connection to an artist and you love the music and you put in the time, like I'm really grateful for the experience and like I love the whole team.
Hell yeah, man. That's crazy that you I think I saw that picture on your Instagram. You had a photo of Rezz like in your studio. I'm gonna do this one day, and then a photo of you doing the show. Like in only a few years, handful of years.
Yeah, so like I'll like
that's crazy.
I hope it doesn't sound crazy to her. I don't think it would, but like she posted a picture on her Instagram like, oh my gosh, like 5 years ago, and the top picture was her with like a couple of friends when like as a teenager going to a festival, and then like she had like a candy necklace on, and then the bottom half of the picture was her DJing a huge festival in front of a huge audience, and like the caption said, "What you can do in 5 human years." And you know, like I had that like pinned to the wall, and like roughly 5 years later, I got to do the show. So you know, it was very meaningful, and I'm really grateful for that kind of experience and to, you know, meet someone so inspiring on so many levels.
I love shit like that. It's like magical, you know, calling your shot, you know what I mean? And like having that same parallel type of moment as somebody you look up to. That's fucking cool. Like, and with them, I don't know, just very
the whole team
synchronous,
like,
you know?
It really is. Like, you know, Cam McNeil is one of my favorite people, and I'm always going to be very grateful and very open about like just being super grateful, like for a really wonderful friend. And like, I'm just like, I got this. Take the reins. I got this.
Hell yeah. And that's another piece that seems apparent in a lot of stories that I hear, but yours as well, is like these friends and these connections that you have can open a lot of doors for you. Like,
absolutely,
you know, he can't do a gig and he trusts you to do it. Boom. Amazing gig moment happens in your life because you made that friendship over time.
Yeah, I think it's really amazing in this industry, especially because like our industry, sometimes it feels really big, but it's actually really small. And it's really great to develop these friendships and these relationships. And we are watching each other and helping each other grow over the years, right? Like, I'm sure a lot of people like remember when I was like a college student and like super bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, like, I want to be a VJ, and be like, oh, so cute. And like, being able to grow with them and keeping those connections. And I hope that I can be like that with other people, regardless of younger or older, like where we're coming from. Like I love being able to grow together and learn from each other. I think that's one of my favorite things about like the VJ community is that like we're really open to teaching each other things and helping each other grow. So it's really great to be friendly.
Yeah, the community is it, it is a small world. It can help you out a lot, and it can also fuck your day up if you're not a nice person. So be nice.
Be nice.
Be cool.
And you can't be cool, at least be nice.
Yeah, like we're having parties, man. Like, be cool. All right. I'm curious, this channel that I have talks a lot about Resolume. Cool. But there's other shit out there. You are also a disguise operator.
Okay.
Tell us about disguise and why you learned it and what's cool about it.
Sure. I'm still pretty new to being a disguise operator. I worked a couple of pretty big gigs, which has been really awesome. Disguise is a media server. Resolume is almost there. It's a lot of people used to call Resolume like a stripped down media server, and Resolume has really stepped up its game and its features and functionality. The biggest difference is that, first of all, is that Disguise, like many other media services, is on a timeline. It's not like a bank of clips that you pick out. So it's a lot more of like a sequenced show. And media servers are really cool because instead of like Resolume, you can run it on a laptop. Disguise, or in most other media servers, they are ran on a big compute, like a big box, like a rack server that's just dedicated to doing Disguise, and then usually like not for Unreal as well for like iMag or like cool live scenes. So, and with these servers, since they're servers, they can be linked together over network. And that's when you can start getting into those 16 4K outs, 30 4K outs. Hey, we're going to do a huge projection mapping installation with like 96 projectors. So you can start creating this like network or organism of servers and so on, and be making like really, really big projects. Disguise is also used to run some of the biggest shows in the world. And that's like why I learned it. I actually first encountered Disguise on a virtual production shoot and saw that the person who was using it was really running the show, right? And like could control Unreal and like make all these things happen on stage. And I was really interested by that. And then the more I got involved, and then I was just seeing, oh, like it's also used in music. And when you see a show like Beyonce using Disguise, you're like, I want to do that. I want to learn Disguise. I think that would be advantageous for me. So, I started taking classes, and it's a really cool software as well, because it's multi-industry. It can be used for virtual production. It's used for concerts. It's used for theater, installations, projection mapping. Broadcast uses Disguise a lot, like the news and so on. So, my first really big course was in virtual production because I was working at a virtual production studio at the time. And I just saw its prevalence, and I was like, this is one of the really big things. This is what like the big productions are using. Like, I want to learn that.
Yeah, Disguise, man. I also came across it because of, I knew about it. I tried to play with it, but during the pandemic, they were giving out like free licenses, which I don't think were doing that before. And they kept them free for like almost 2 years, I think.
I think it's still free.
Is it still free? They're still doing it? I think it works so good at getting a lot of people into it. And so learned it a little bit for virtual production, but I still need to take one of the real classes. I've only done the online versions of it.
Mm-hmm. I took the virtual production accelerator course. It's actually, they have it primarily at the Row Visual LED office in Chatsworth, California. Mm-hmm. And it was a really cool class. I think it's really helpful with things like media service to take at least 1 to 2 classes in person, because, just all the hands-on instruction you can't do without it.
Yeah. 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 I never feel like I fully learned it online. Like, I feel like I learned a lot more just being in a XR studio and having the boxes around and getting to poke around on a computer connected to a screen rather than just like the visualizer and whatnot.
You definitely can learn like a lot online now, and they've actually made their online courses a lot better and like more fleshed out. So I definitely wouldn't discourage anyone if they were really interested in like learning about it from going online and doing the online certifications at least, because you're getting time in the media server, building projects, looking at the functionality.
Oh, for sure.
And so on. But it is really helpful to like do 1 to 2 classes in person.
Yeah, I'm just scared. I'm scared to do it for real.
Don't be scared.
We got to talk about it. The Sphere. Everybody's talking about it. It's crazy.
It's spherical.
It's spherical.
It's spherical.
It's fucking 16K by 6. It's bazillions of pixels.
Oh my gosh, it is.
It's everybody's favorite band, U2. How the fuck did that happen? That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, like I asked for a recommendation and it worked out. I was looking for work, and I'm just, I'm so grateful to this day. I just want to say I want to be very clear that I was not an operator and I was not a content creator on the YouTube show. I was what's called the content manager or content supervisor. So when you have a really big show like that, right? There's a lot of content. And one of the great things about Disguise is that you can do what's called the versioning. So if I have version like your name is this V1, and then I create a your name is this V2, as long as it's perfectly matching and just the V's are V2, V1, V2, Disguise will automatically replace V1 with V2. Like you don't have to go in there and reselect it. So there are a lot of versions. There's a lot of content. And then what my job involved was keeping track of all that content and cutting all the content into pieces. Because again, it's a network of servers. So even like a crazy supercomputer would have a pretty hard time doing 16K by 16K. You could somehow make outputs that could do that off of one computer. And then we were doing lots of notch and many layers of content at once and like alpha channels. So it would be really hard for even like crazy supercomputer to do that. So we had a network of servers, and this server did this part of the screen and that server did that part of the screen and so on. So my job was involving, I cut all the content up into those pieces and put them on the related server. And then like the Disguise server and the plugin that they made stitched it all back together. So I just wanted to say I didn't operate and I didn't make content. That I'm hoping that will change very, very soon. But it doesn't really matter what I did. I'm really grateful that I got to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's an incredible project and venue to be involved with at all.
It's LED inside of LED. It's pretty cool.
It's nuts. LED section. Yeah, incredible. Doing some research for a video that I may or may not finish about it.
Oh yeah.
Just like the stats of that place are crazy.
Oh my gosh. Insane. There's like almost a speaker for every person.
Yeah.
Sit there. It's pretty wild.
Directional audio, fucking so many pixels, magic. I think that's really interesting though. The content management part of a show like that is incredibly important and such a task at that scale. So it's really cool that you had the opportunity to be in that position and do that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And all these things, your multifacetedness really led to that. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to go back a little bit. Let's get a little bit tactical for people. Give them some little bits of gold for making it to the end. Do you have any pro tips, advice, or anything like that for the people who are trying to get into this, or maybe who are starting out in the industry and trying to level up? Like, what are those like best pieces of advice that you have for people?
Sure, totally. I know that I've mentioned a lot about connections that I have and people that I've met along the way. And I think it's really important to remember for anyone who wants to get into like any kind of more self-directed career that no one is gonna give you an opportunity if they don't know that you exist, right? So I say like be really vocal about what it is that you want to do. And obviously you've got to back up those skills with if you say that you want to do something, and we all learn. I think it's really important though to say like, hi, like I'm me and I'm really interested in these things. I really want to do this, like reaching out to people and trying to make those connections, or like going up to front of house and just like saying hello to someone after a show if it's appropriate and you can do that, like taking those kinds of steps to connect with people, I think is just so important.
Really?
Don't be afraid of it.
And like tactically, where are you doing that a lot in person? Are you getting in the DMs? Are you sending like formal cold emails to people? Is it
I
all
really
of the
don't do a lot
above?
of emails.
No?
Well, back in the day, yeah, I did do some DMs. I did like go up and like talk to some people at front of house once I had a little bit of experience, and really like reaching out to the community I had around me at the time. Again, like I really think it's important to be vocal about what it is that you want to do and what it is that you're interested in. And even like being really active on forums can be really helpful because people start to know your name, or making an Instagram and like regularly posting and commenting and like responding to DMs and so on, connecting with the other artists around you. Like all those things are really important. Like none of us became who we were in a vacuum. So don't expect to rise in a vacuum or like being alone either. I think it's really important to step out of your comfort zone a little bit and just be proud of what you want to do.
And then what about learning these things? You mentioned YouTube University towards the beginning of the episode. That's also like a self-directed thing. Do you have any tips for like self-directed learning?
Yeah, it's definitely something we all learn to get better at. I would say if someone is really fresh and really starting out brand new, it would be far better for you to either like take an online course or like follow a tutorial, or like a big tutorial series, than it would be to kind of pick and choose all over the place, right? You're not really getting a solid foundation of learning. It would be far better for you to watch like an hour and a half long thing of like how to do After Effects. Then you learn like a lot of the foundations, or Sean Bose's Resolume series. So you can get that full foundational learning instead of like picking and choosing and getting little bits and pieces of information. So I think that's really important. It can feel long sometimes, and it definitely still does for me, but I think it's really important. Also like kind of thinking about the kind of very specific work that you want to be doing, whether it's like a style of 3D animation or content that you really like, someone's visuals you really like, or, oh, this career path sounds really interesting. If you can like very clearly identify that and then work backwards, you can start to understand what skills that you need to learn, or like what projects you need to work on first in order to get to that career or those skill sets. So I think it's important to like have a goal and to give yourself challenges with things like projects or like finishing longer tutorial series.
Great tips. Yeah, just break some shit down and watch some tutorials. What does the future have in store for the great and powerful Kelly Finn? What are you excited about? What's on the horizon?
I'm very excited that I'm going to be going to Sweden for a job for 2 months next year. I'm going to be helping out on Eurovision, which is, if people don't know what Eurovision is, it's kind of like America's Got Talent, but on a country basis. So each country creates a performance and it's a song, and then they perform. So I'm going to be helping with the content management for that, kind of in a similar way to what I did for you too. So get to go to Sweden, which is really sick. And I'm just really excited to like keep VJing. Like even as I do these larger and larger projects, like I always want VJing and video operations to be like at the center of what I do. Like I'm starting to say that music is at like the core of what I do, because it really is. It's like that artistic expression that you need to have. And so whatever shows are going to come, like they're going to come, and I'm really excited for them because it makes me happy. And I really want to just keep expressing myself like that and keep making shows awesome.
Oh yeah. Do
Oh
you have
yeah.
any parting words? If you could say one thing to the people watching this.
This is the worst part. Sean Bo's YouTube tutorials. Start there, friends. I literally tell people, I'm like, oh, you really want to learn Wrestling? Well, you should. Wrestling has a great tutorial series, or you could watch Sean Bo's.
Yeah, I have a basically reworded version of most of their videos. So, either one is fine.
Pretty sure those tutorials were made with like Resolume 6 and your Resolume 7. So
Yeah, I got a couple new features in mind. Amazing.
I just want to say I'm so happy that that we finally have colored Resolume effects.
Yes.
Color them.
Color
It's like
coding.
super small, but like I'm just very happy
Organized.
with it. I just want there to be I hope someone from Resolume is listening, but I just want there to be a search function. So if I Google, if I like search for displace in Resolume, it could highlight all the places where there's a displace effect. I feel like that'd be really helpful instead of scrolling through a really big list of effects. Just saying.
That would be nice. I like it. Submit it. Bart,
Okay.
if you're watching,
You're watching.
put it in.
Put it in. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for that was amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm super excited to see where you go from here. But yeah, thanks for hopping on.
Thanks. Hope to see you down the road very soon.
Yes.
Yes.